Hello, and welcome to Finiliar Land, home to the Finiliars. Look, here is one now. He is just waking up. We should be quiet.
This is the Finiliar, the first artwork that I've made that makes people smile. And that's very new to me, and I'm enjoying even just making people feel a little bit happy. So this show is launching the Finiliar, which are entities that are generated out of large structures. So these could be anything from a company to a currency, to a GDP, to a football team, to a rainfall, to anything. And their emotional and physical state are dependent on those things. So as, for instance, the currency goes up in value, the Finiliar becomes happy. And as it decreases, it becomes sad or depressed. What's interesting about this, it's based largely on the language or the form of the Tamagotchi, but as opposed to it being an individual's responsibility, the state and health of the Finiliar is contingent on many more people, on everybody who interacts with it outside of that room, in the real world in some way. I would like to introduce you to the Finiliar. This one is feeding off Ethereum, which is a cryptocurrency, a bit like Bitcoin, but designed specifically for contracts and stuff, so it's fairly new. This one is based around the Canadian dollar, who's doing okay right now. And then this little guy is Dunlop, who is the British pound, who unfortunately has been very sick since Brexit. In this work, I focus very much on the idea of perhaps the startup, or the entrepreneur who produces a product and then releases it into the world. And in the sense, the Finiliar could be seen as that, as a product or a service that can have a life outside of the gallery, that can be thought of as a tool. The final goal of the Finiliar, I suppose, is something to do with bringing these large, often invisible structures that surround us and influence our lives, and making them present and making them observable in some way. It kind of accumulates all the millions and millions of micro decisions and reduces it down into one flat, readable image. Finiliars are dying every day. When a structure no longer functions or their data set becomes redundant or stagnates, then the Finiliar becomes static and is captured on their last frame of depression, which is normally one of sickness or immobility. It's exciting to be showing in New York, purely based on the fact that I grew up in rural England and obsessed about New York culture. I would listen to stand-up Woody Allen tapes from the 1970s on repeat, and had a very clear image in my head, so it's always exciting to be back here.